Testing. Is this fucking thing working? Jesus goddamn Christ. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. We got Max the dog here. Hey, Max. How's it going? Everybody, it's Max the dog. I don't know if you can see him. Look at this. Look at this boy. Look at this boy. Holy shit, man. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Above It All program for today. I don't know what the fuck, like, YouTube is, like, fucking around. Like, it's not letting me, start a stream. So what I did was, I had used OBS to go live anyway, and it just, like, created, like, an automatic stream thing. I don't even know what the fuck's going on with this website, so I don't know if the quality for this is going to be worse or different at all. I have no idea. Apparently it pulled settings from like a 6-year-old stream or some shit, according to Courtney. So I don't know what the resolution or the frame rate for this show is. I normally stream at 1080p. I'm not sure if it's, I'm streaming at 1080p. I'm not sure if YouTube is picking it up. I don't know what's going on. So, if this stream is a little wonky, a little weird, I don't know. But anyway, welcome to the show. I got a program here. I've got coffee as well. And so I'm going to be consuming some coffee. Am I? And, I'm going to be doing a show today. Got a show lined up. Yesterday I did a long fuckface show. So, goddamn. Am I right, people? So, if you didn't watch yesterday's 2-hour, I have it open here, 2-hour, 42-minute program. Like, that's a feat. That's like, you ever watch fucking JFK, Oliver Stone? Like, that's like around that length. I think that was actually 3-something hours, but, 2 hours, 40, what is this, a fucking Martin Scorsese film? Goddamn, no, actually, it's Above It All, folks, so go watch that. I had a little bit of fun. I don't know if fun is the word I would describe. But I had a little bit of an emotional breakdown. But anyway, doing a program here. We have Tyler Hackner. We got Fun P. We got Soul Ife, Courtney, Abner, and more, including but not limited to Home and Glam Girl Adel and Johnny Too Early. So, again, I don't know what the fuck's going on with YouTube, so if the visibility for the stream is a little shitty, if you're watching the VOD and you're like, I didn't even know, like, I don't know what to do, I apologize. But, well, actually, no, I didn't do anything wrong. It's the website that did something wrong, so I'm not going to apologize. So, anyway, we're going to be jumping into the news. Yo, okay, so first of all, I want to headline this, and I'm not going to do this clip yet, but this is going to be coming later in the show. Apparently, there is a whistleblower report and an interview about UFOs and extraterrestrials. Some quote-unquote whistleblower did an interview. It's like 10 minutes. I'm going to watch the whole thing. This is one of my little fun areas. I don't talk about it much on the show, but I love UFOs. I love aliens. Do I necessarily believe that it's all true? No. But I think it's funny. So I'm going to be jumping into that later on in the show. We're going to be talking about Pride Month. It's apparently Pride Month. I forgot. How did I forget? Well, all the corporations in the world didn't change their Twitter banners to rainbows because I guess they're afraid of Republicans. So we're going backwards on Pride Month. Now, again, as much as I love corporations, what are you going to do? So, and more, I guess. We're going to be talking about some more stuff. But anyway, welcome to the program. If I seem chipper, it's because this is my second cup of coffee and I'm already halfway done. Is that a word, chipper? Does that mean what I think it means? Anyway, let's get this got a show going on. Where do we start here? All right, let's start with this fucking bullshit. So, this may shock you, it may trigger you, what I'm about to say, but it's my belief and, well, First Amendment. Religion is evil, and if you teach religion to a child, that is child abuse, and you are grooming them. Now, if that's offensive to you, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, you're just a fucking idiot. But again, what is the largest institution and organization of child molestation in the world? The Catholic Church. So if you bring your child to church, you are putting them more in danger than if you give your child a pride flag. It's just a matter of fact. It is a fact. And as we know, facts don't care about your feelings. So again, Christianity as a whole is just a giant child grooming operation. There is no God, and if there is a God, which I don't believe, but I'm open to the idea, I am not open to the idea of a Jesus or a Holy Ghost. If there's a creator of any kind, I wouldn't refer to them as God. God institutes a hierarchical mode of thinking, which I don't believe in. But if there is a creator, okay, I'm open to that idea. But the idea that Christianity is the religion that wins here, I'm sorry, you're a fucking moron. I don't give a shit who you are. I don't give a shit if you're a self-proclaimed socialist and you still believe in fairy tales. If you believe in Jesus Christ, you are a fucking idiot. And if you have a kid, you are grooming that kid to be susceptible to child molestation if you bring them around Christians. Christians are disgusting fucking freaks when it comes to their congregations. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. So with that getting stated, that's my bias out of the way. Let's cover the following news story. Oklahoma School Board approves nation's first religious charter school. So just to be clear, this is against the law. This is not legal. Again, this is illegal, right? The Constitution of the United States clearly says that you cannot spend public tax dollars on religious institutions. They are breaking the law here. And again, why are they breaking the law? Because they want to groom children and hand them over to molesting clergymen. That's why. The only possible reason why you would indoctrinate your child into believing in Santa Claus is if you want to set them up to be molested by someone in the church. That's it. Because if you want to come up with another reason why you're teaching your children that the Easter Bunny is a real thing and that Santa Claus is going to come down the chimney any minute now, and then tell them for 50 years, you know, you got to believe in Santa, you got to believe in Santa. Again, what is the only effect on children that it does? One, it destroys their ability to think properly. You could even say it's a form of abuse, gaslighting, right? I figured out that God wasn't real when I was like 9 or 10, 11 years old. I don't really remember exactly what age. And when you tell me that God is real when it's a matter of fact that it's not, I'm sorry, that's gaslighting. And when you gaslight a child, my opinion, that's child abuse, right? And if you're bringing a child to church, my opinion, that's grooming them and setting them up to be molested or raped by someone in the church. That is a fact. I'm sorry if it upsets you, but it is a fact. Churches are just, one, they are child molestation rackets. That is their primary purpose. And their secondary purpose is tax avoidance and money laundering. That is the entire point of Christianity all across the world. That's it. Those are the only two things that are actually relevant to the conversation. It's a mafia of a bunch of gangsters that love raping children and they love stealing money from the government. That's it, okay? So again, with all that being said, again, it's also illegal to have a religious school. This is against the United States Constitution, but of course the right doesn't give a fuck about the Constitution. An Oklahoma school board voted Monday to approve a bid to open the nation's first religious charter school, sparking backlash and questions about the constitutionality of the move to use taxpayer dollars to fund a religious school. That's another thing that I want to say to you. Again, the law does not exist. There is no such thing as a constitution or law. There's no such thing as judges, lawyers. It's all made up. These are people playing pretend. I need you to understand that. Now, again, enough people play pretend and they can bully you into going to jail, going into handcuffs, putting a gun to your head and forcing you to a courtroom. But as a matter of principle, at the end of the day, they're all playing pretend. There is no law. The law doesn't matter. If there is a law that says you are not allowed to spend public tax dollars on religious schools, and then they do it anyway, well, I guess the law didn't stop them, right? So again, the law is, in the best case scenario, a suggestion, but in the worst case scenario, non-existent. That's why you see the crooks on Wall Street get away with thousands and thousands of crimes, and then, your brother-in-law got arrested for having an ounce of weed in their glove box or whatever, right? So again, that's why we live in this scenario. Oklahoma statewide virtual charter board, school board. Why is it a virtual charter? Are they afraid of in-person meeting? I don't know, man. It seems a little weird to me. Voted 3-2 to approve a plan to create St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School. Again, the only point of a Christian school is, one, child molestation racket. They want to get up and line up a bunch of kids to rape. That's it. That's it. That's the only reason why you would ever have a religious Christian school. That's it. And the other reason is, of course, stealing money from the government, which, again, now, just to be clear, I don't necessarily mind when you steal money from the government. The part that really upsets me, though, is when you're a bunch of child rapists that steal money from the government. If you're somebody who's been discriminated against by the government and you find a loophole to pay less taxes, I'm all on board with that one, okay? It's all good. But if you're a fucking billionaire, if you're an oligarch, if you're a fucking child rapist, if you're a fucking priest, whatever. Oh, sorry, those are the same thing. Those are synonyms. You should be paying fucking taxes, okay? That's just a matter of principle, in my humble opinion. Quote, "We are elated that the board agreed with our argument and application for the nation's first religious charter school." Brett Farley, the executive director at the Catholic Conference of Oklahoma, said after the decision, "Parents continue to demand more options for their kids, and we are committed to help provide them." Again, parents are demanding that their children be abused and possibly molested instead of learning that gay people exist and that slavery happened. Because that's what the backlash is. That's why this is happening. That's why there are religious schools popping up all over the place. We saw a case in New Hampshire where there was a religious school that was trying to get public tax dollars, right? And that got stuck up in the courts for a while, right? That is why. They don't want kids to learn that black people used to be enslaved. That's uncomfortable. And they also don't want kids to know that gay people are alive and exist. That's pretty much it. And so they would put their kids in danger of being raped and molested by a bunch of evil, disgusting Santa believers instead of having their kids learn that slavery happened. So again, in my opinion, if you tell your child that God is real, that is child abuse. I don't know what to tell you. That's child abuse. If you are telling your kid that Jesus is a real person, you are gaslighting them to the point where they are ill-equipped to participate in reality, okay? It's just, that's the way that the world works. I'm sorry if that actually, I'm not sorry if that offends you. I'm just trying to be a little nice. If that does offend you, I suggest really looking into your life. Again, I have a no fucks given attitude when it comes to religious people. I don't even care what the religion is. Judaism, look at what's going on in Israel. I mean, they're using Judaism to commit a fucking ethnic cleansing. We got Islam. Look at what's going on in Afghanistan. They're using Islam to enslave women. Look at what's going on in Saudi Arabia, for example, right? So all kinds of religions are doing all kinds of fucked up shit. But in the United States, Christianity is the dominant child molestation and rape racket. And that's why I focus on Christianity. But again, let's keep going. Parents continue to demand blah, blah, blah. The journey for this Catholic school is far from over, as many disagree with the idea of a charter school which receives taxpayer dollars along with private donations run by a religious organization. The idea that a private school even gets public dollars as well is another thing. This is like a double dip of fucked up bullshit. So not only are they stealing money from the government to put your kids in an abusive child molestation racket, but they're also taking money from a bunch of billionaires to do so and to craft the curricula. So I don't know, man. A little fucked up if you ask me. It's hard to think of a clearer violation of the religious freedom of Oklahoma taxpayers and public school families than the state establishing the nation's first religious public charter school. The group said in a statement, the group is Americans United for Separation of Church and State, calling the decision a sea change for American democracy. Well, I just want to be very clear. We don't have democracy. We never have. And whatever, little democracy we had in this country is long gone. Okay, so you can make an argument, it's like, man, it's like in the just 2010 was the peak of democracy and whatever. But either way, we are not at the peak. We are losing whatever little possible democratic, things going on in our country that we even had in the first place. So, again, the Voting Rights Act, right? It's all gone. It's just matter of fact here. Supporters of the school argue charter school laws are different in each state, and while some states a religious charter school may be impermissible, it is allowed under Oklahoma law. Again, Oklahoma loves child molestation, so that's why they do that. Some also see Monday's approval as a win for religious freedom. Religious freedom to rape your children and abuse them and gaslight them so that they are ill-equipped to participate in the real world. Wow, yeah, I love religious freedom. That's the thing. You ever see these religious freedom guys, but as soon as you start talking about, I know, the flying spaghetti monster, all of a sudden religious freedom is thrown out the window. You don't really believe in the flying spaghetti monster, do you? You're just making a joke. I could say the same thing about Jesus fucking Christ and watching you jerk off, and then you have to go confess that, oh, my father, I jerked off last night, and I jerked off to trans people. Oh my God, right? So, again, I don't know. You think, religious freedom? Okay, we can play that game. And while school choice is popular among conservatives, even top officials in Oklahoma are split on the decision. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt applauded the decision. Wow. Big shock. This is a win for religious liberty. I love that shit, man. Look, it's liberty, right? Liberty is sending your kid to a child molestation ring. That's liberty. But what's not liberty is allowing gay people to exist. By the way, Oklahoma banned abortion. That's not liberty, right? The ability, if you are pregnant, to go to a doctor, sorry, can't do it. If you are trans and you want to go to a doctor, can't do it. Sorry, liberty doesn't cover you. If you want to send your kid to a child molestation ring, it's all good, bro. Liberty. It's just a bunch of garbage. So you can read more of this if you want. You can look into it if you'd like. I mean, I'm not gonna pretty much said my piece on this one. But again, it's just like we live in La La Land, and again, generations of people being gaslit and abused by their parents into believing that God is real. Because in a lot of instances, if you acknowledge reality, if you acknowledge that the emperor does indeed have no clothes, then what happens? You get abused, you get put down, you get shunned from society. That is where we are with religion, okay? People genuinely are afraid to speak the truth about Christianity and these other religions in other countries where they're more dominant. And as a result, we live in an emperor has no clothes type situation where everyone is pretending, yes, God is real, Jesus is real, yes, he's watching you jerk off, the angels are saving you and they're guarding you and all this stuff. And yeah, I know there's a pandemic, thousands of people a year are dying from gun violence and, climate change, nuclear apocalypse is imminent, but God is real and he's helping us. And the hurricanes that killed thousands of people over the last couple of years, but don't worry, it's God's plan, or whatever the fuck. I mean, seriously, I'm sorry. Again, and I know people might roll their eyes at this, but I'm sorry that you feel that way. I truly feel sorry for you. But anyone that believes in any of this shit, I just can't take them seriously. They're just a fucking idiot as far as I'm concerned. Seriously. If you believe in Jesus, you are literally the dumbest motherfucker I've ever met. No wonder Americans are this fucking stupid. They literally believe that a fucking magical ghost is watching their every move and guarding them from, guarding them, right? Not everyone else dying in the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the fucking mass shootings, the fucking wars, the bombs being dropped, all this. They're not guarding them, but they're guarding you and little Timmy, right? Because, hey, why not? But anyway, there you go. So, first in the nation, religious, publicly funded school. Yay! I am consuming some LaCroix. In some regions, they call it LaCroix. I call it LaCroix. Limoncello flavor. So, this is not a sponsorship, but just, people, they might want to know. Doing a show today. Let's check this out while we're talking about gay people. Now, just to be clear, I love the gays. I just want to be very clear about that before we get into this next segment here. So, again, I like to start my segments by putting my biases on the table so that people know where I'm coming from when I cover these kinds of stories. So, just real quick, again, I love the gays. I got a lot of gay friends, and they're great. I love them. I love the transes. I got a lot of trans friends. They're great. I love them. Actually, I don't have any friends, but, I like to pretend I have friends just for the sake of doing the show. But with all that being said, we need to cover something serious. And what is that? Well, major brands are silent about Pride Month after backlash. Now, again, as the gays and the transes know, corporations are not our friends. They love pandering. They love telling everyone how much they love gay people while they employ child slavery in other countries to get their chocolate, their coffee, and so on and so forth, right? But they'll tell everyone how great they are and signal their virtues about how gay people are great. We just kind of take it for granted. Oh, everyone's going to change their shit to rainbows on June 1st. And, well, it's not happening anymore. So, why? Well, let's find out. Brands that have recently been the subject of backlash online have remained silent on social media for the first day of LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Now, again, I want to say this as someone in the LGBTQ community, queer. Queer is the word. I'm sorry. I'm done with LGBTQ plus. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done with LGBTQIA plus. I'm done with LGBT. I'm done. Okay? And I think most people are done. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's just a stupid fucking way to communicate things. We have a word that works better and is inclusive. Again, if you're an asexual, how do you feel about being constantly relegated to a plus sign? I mean, again, it's just, to me, the LGBTQ plus terminology is just an exclusive term. Queer is an all-inclusive term. It might make a bunch of 80-year-old gay people that hate trans people upset, but you know what? Fuck them. Anyway, the North Face, Lego, and Miller Lite carried supportive messages on June 1st, 2022, that's last year, but did not do so this year. All three brands have been accused of going woke over recent marketing campaigns. Other brands such as Target, Bud Light, and Adidas have yet to post, despite doing so later in June last year. Of the accounts reviewed by Newsweek, only Kohl's and PetSmart had defied critics so far in posting Pride Month content. So again, I am not someone that's saying like, I wake up in the morning and I go check Lego's Twitter account to feel included with it. I don't give a fuck. Ultimately, when they do this rainbow capitalism shit, I roll my eyes. But again, capitalism, the whole point of capitalism is to make money. And so it is interesting that they're not going to sign up for Pride this year because they're afraid that conservatives are going to boycott them, right? Negative 605 conservatives are going to stop buying shit at Target because they were conservatives are going to stop with their Lego collections all of a sudden. Like what? Like, conservatives aren't shopping at fucking Lego anyway, right? So it's like, I don't even know what the fuck they're worried about. But again, it's indicative of fascism growing in this country. This is a fascist country. It's been a fascist country, I don't know, for about 400 years, maybe. So it's not a surprise, we have ebbs and flows of fascism in this country. At some points in our history, we killed people for being Native American. At some points in our history, we killed people for being black. At some points in our history, we put people in cages for being Japanese. At some points in our history, including today, we put people in cages simply for the crime of being black, right? So this is a fascist country. It's always been a fascist country. It's never been a democracy, and that just needs to be understood. If you understand what democracy, like the definition of democracy means, then you know that this isn't a democracy. So whenever you hear someone talk about American democracy, they're probably a dumbass. I'm just being honest with you. And again, corporations, their whole goal is to make money. And they've, in some instances, decided, well, we make more money by pandering to fascists than by pandering to gay people. That's it. That's the calculation. We want to virtue signal to neo-Nazis. Because they think if they virtue signal for neo-Nazis, that they will make more money. Now, a lot of people don't know this about the Holocaust because they don't really teach you anything about the Holocaust in school. I remember going to high school, and the only thing I learned about the Holocaust is they had concentration camps and 6 million Jews died. That's it. They don't teach you that who else was in the concentration camps? Gay people. Whoa! They don't teach you that. Who else was in the concentration camps? Trans people, all kinds of immigrants. Roma, for example, right? They don't teach you that what did the Nazis do to gain power? They made partnerships with major corporations. A big example, Ford. Another big example, IBM. Another big example, Coca-Cola. By the way, did you know Fanta, the brand Fanta, originated in Nazi Germany? The Nazis, I'm talking about the actual Nazis, after they gained power, what they wanted to do as a cultural shift was create a new soda. They created the first version of Fanta, which was an apple drink, and they marketed it all across the world as like an invention of the Nazi state. So look at what the Nazis are contributing to the world. So again, this is what's happening in our world right now, right? IBM, Ford, right? Now we have Lego, we have Miller Lite, we have Bud Light. They are all marching in lockstep with the modern day Nazis. They are partnering with the fascists because that is what money always does. Money and power know that Nazism is more popular. Again, whether or not you want to believe me, Nazism is more popular than supporting minorities. You see a lot of people, liberals, Democrats most likely, saying that they support gay people and trans people, but when push comes to shove, they'll go like, right? That's why you see Joe Biden running for office under all people should be treated equally, and then he's like, well, maybe the biological boys shouldn't be in sports, using right-wing Nazi dog whistles and genocidal language. That's the Joe Biden administration. So, again, Democrats, they don't really care. They'll pretend to care, but once the sea change happens, they're just going to go flip-flop right to the Nazi side. We see it every single time. So, companies are facing a rising tide of outrage over advertising campaigns that are viewed by some as appealing to progressive causes, and calls for boycotts that many have faced in recent months. I would love to see these numbers on the boycotts, because I'm very much so convinced that the boycotts have not actually done anything. While experts have said such campaigns provide an opportunity for brands to appeal to consumers in new markets, critics have accused companies of alienating their traditional customer base. Like, that's the thing about Nazis, is they're a bunch of fucking uppity snowflakes. Like, I like the idea that a gay person might go to Target being so offensive to you that you're going to make your entire identity about boycotting Target for multiple weeks of your life because a gay person went there. I mean, that's just insane. I mean, that's fucking crazy shit, okay? I don't know what to tell you, okay? That's insane. And the fact that these companies are listening to them is the most sane thing in the world, because capitalism is inherently a fascistic style of governance. That's just what it is. What is capitalism? How did capitalism start, right? Capitalism evolved out of a mercantilistic society, which was kind of like, a neo-feudalistic kind of, kings and queens wanted to occupy spaces all across the world, and they wanted to motivate people and incentivize people to go and do that for them. So they basically said, whatever you find out there, feel free to keep. Give me whatever percent, 10%. I will give you a boat. I'll give you a crew. Fly around, or, sail around the world, kill a bunch of people, take all their shit. That was mercantilism, a combination of capitalism and feudalism, where people are doing their own individual, acts of profit seeking, but under a king and queen environment. And then they rebelled against the kings. They said, well, we can make more money, we can get more gold if we just get rid of these fucking kings, right? So that is when capitalism really kind of went into the fold. Look at the United States rebelling against the king, for example, becoming one of the first capitalist nations, right? And what is capitalism? Capitalism is less checks and balances on mercantilism. Now, again, you can say kings and queens, horrible shit. I don't like kings. I don't like queens. But it is factually a check and a balance on the, the ways that capitalism functions. Profit seeking, if for profit's sake, leads to genocide, as we saw with Native Americans in North and South America, right? So again, whether or not you like it, I don't know. A king and a queen having some sort of dual power with, capitalistic interests. It is, again. And so we live in a country now where the government is supposed to occupy that region, but the government doesn't have any power. The government is weak. The government is feckless. The government is paralyzed. And so we're basically in a situation where fascism, the natural byproduct of capitalism, you can't have fascism without capitalism. It is a requirement, right? So now we're just seeing that bubble to the surface once again, because the government, feckless and paralyzed, is refusing to become a check and a balance on the power of these corporations, on the power of fascism, on the power of money. And so they're just going to basically take over the world unless something stops them. But nothing's going to stop them. So we're all going to fucking get thrown into a camp and gassed any minute now. By we, I mean, us queers out there. So while I'm doing my show and broadcasting my queerdom, and I know I'm going to be sitting in a fucking chamber somewhere with fucking being chained to the wall, being forced to watch this video of me talking very freely, saying, well, this is why we're going to kill you, because we found you from your YouTube videos, but I'm going to do it anyway. So maybe I'm just having a little fun. Let's keep going. The outdoor, on June 1st, 2022, the North Face, I don't know what that is, posted to Instagram that it was proud to be donating $100,000 to a group that organizes nature-based, like the North Face. I guess it's a company. I don't know what it is. But they're donating $100,000. I'm assuming, if it's going to be in this article, I'm going to assume the North Face is some like multi-billion-dollar fucking company. And the idea that a multi-billion-dollar company that probably employs child slavery in other countries to get, whatever products that they have, which most companies do, food companies, clothing companies, chocolate, coffee, whatever, they employ child slavery, right? So I love that. Oh, we're going to donate $100,000. Oh, really? How about 100 million? How about a billion? I don't know, man. Like, put your money where your mouth is. 100,000 is a drop in the fucking bucket, but whatever. While it kept its Summer of Pride posts, which provoked criticism in May, it has yet to post a Pride message this year on social media. Wow. The outdoor clothing brand I guess it's an outdoor clothing brand, the North Face, faced boycott calls in late May this year after launching its Pride Month campaign featuring Patagonia, a drag queen. In a statement to Newsweek, it defended the campaign, saying the company has always believed the outdoors should be welcoming, equitable, and a safe place for all. Now, again, this is one of those things where it's like, anytime a company says anything, it's irrelevant because it just doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. But, like, wow. The company has always believed the outdoors should be a... What? We're talking about neo-Nazis wanting to commit a genocide of transgender people, and you're making a joke about, like, when you go on a hike, you should be allowed to suck dick. Like, what? You should be allowed to be gay while outside? Like, who? What? Outside? Like, what? Like, I'm sorry. How is that relevant at all? Like, we're talking about Nazis taking over the country and tried to commit a genocide of people, and you're, like, making a fucking pun about your company. I'm, like, Jesus fucking Christ. Similarly, Lego faced calls for boycott after announced its A to Z of Awesome campaign, which described which it described as a celebration of the beautiful, powerful language of the LGBTQ plus AI plus community using its trademark building blocks. Despite posting several times in June 22, including June 1st about Pride Month, the toy maker has not posted about Pride this year. So, anyway, there you go. We're fucked in this situation, and just to be very clear, not in the good dick way. This is not a good situation at all. And again, while I roll my eyes at corporate pandering, the idea that they're reversing course and pandering to neo-Nazis, because that's what this is, right? You have a choice. It's a binary situation. Either you pander to the gays, right? Okay. Or you pander to Nazis. That's it. Those are your choices. And these companies, Lego, the North Face, all of these other ones, are pandering to Nazis. I need you to really understand this. I need you to look at this from an anti-fascist lens of analysis. There are two major groups in this, three major groups, right? But two that actually have power. One, the liberals. They have power, right? And they don't do anything with it. They're just kind of sleepwalking. They're zombies. They just kind of walk, Dianne Feinstein is a good example, right? Then you have the Nazis. They also have power. And then you have everyone else who has no power and is probably not a Nazi, right? And so when corporations pander, they're choosing to pander to people with power being Nazis, or choosing to pander to people with power being liberals. And liberals love virtue signaling and feeling like, oh, look at how great I am. I have a pride flag in my fucking front lawn or whatever, right? So again, they're going to side with power no matter what. And sometimes power likes to pander to gay people, to queer people in general, and sometimes power doesn't. So they're siding with the Nazis. It's that fucking simple. I just don't know what to tell you about it. Like, if you, at this point in 2023, do not understand that fascism in this country not is coming, is already here, and has been here for a while, you're just a dumb motherfucker. You are a dumb motherfucker. It's just that simple. You are the dumbest motherfucker who's ever lived, and hey, you probably believe in Jesus too. Hopefully that makes your life feel a little bit better. Oh. Doing a show today. It's the Above It All show. You may have heard of it before. You may not have heard of it. I don't know. It's the Above It All show. Got some other stuff I want to talk about. So while we're talking about fascism slowly encroaching our world, this is just like another example. I saw this one, and it's just like, let's just have fun here. I don't even know if this is fun, but like, I'm gonna try my best to make this fun and not depressing. I mean, this is one of those situations you just can't believe it. Like, you just can't fucking believe it, right? I'm gonna give you a headline. Right? And in fact, I'm going to show you a photo first. Check this out. This is a photo. I guess it's a drawing, an illustration of a fish. A fish. So this is where we're at in our lives, in our world, where this fish is so offensive to a large proportion of people that they bully and attack, right? An entire institution into never, ever trying to teach people about fish ever again. And I can't imagine that. I really can't. I really cannot imagine being triggered about a fish, so much so that I whip myself into a frenzy and call for a genocide of certain minority groups. But it happened. Transphobes are mad that the British Library posted about a fish that can change its sex. If there's one thing, this is from them.us, by the way, if you want to go check out their publication. If there's one thing a certain subject of British people loves, it's getting big mad about completely innocuous mentions of anything having to do with gender. For example, today, hundreds of transphobes got their knickers in a twist over a Twitter thread about a literal species of fish, to the point where the British Library deleted the entire thread. A fish. A fish. Now again, people that are biological essentialists, we have a word for that, by the way. It's called phrenology. Phrenology is the foundation of slavery, racism, and all that kind of stuff. That's the gender critical movement. Whatever you want to call them, TERFs, gender critical, whatever it is. They are fascists, and they are would-be and want-to-be slave owners. That's it. They believe in the same conspiracy theories. But while they believe in phrenology and fake biology and fake science, they will constantly bemoan and cry, "Trust the science, the biology! We know more about biology! I read a textbook in 1961 in first grade about biology, and I am an expert at the world." To the point where, a reminder that actually they're wrong, and that people can change sex. People can be gay, and it's also extremely motherfucking natural to do so, so much so that fucking fish can do this shit, man. Fish. Like, have you seen the brain of a fish? Like, no, you haven't, because they don't have a fucking brain. They're fucking fish, I know they have. But I'm just like, I need you to really grasp this situation, right? We live in a world where about 20%-ish of people are out and proud Nazi fascists. They're phrenologists. They're would-be and want-to-be slave owners. Now, think about the mentality here. Has anyone seen the movie Borat? Classic film. Does anyone remember the scene in Borat where Borat is interviewing some random rednecks in an RV and they just admit that they wish they could go back in time and own slaves, right? I just want everyone to note, even though Borat came out in 2006, when people thought that, slavery was actually unpopular, that this has always been popular. There's always been about 1 in 5 people, as long as I've been alive, 27 years, that are just Nazis. They hate black people. They hate gay people. They hate anyone who's not Christian. They hate anyone who's not white. They hate anyone who's got any sort of, mixed blood inside of them. They are Nazis, okay? They are Nazis. 1 in 5 people, not just Americans, because this is a British publication talking about British politics. 1 in 5 people are Nazis. That is a fact. There have been studies done over the course of decades. We're talking about studies from the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, multi-decade long studies that have concluded that about 1 in 5 people in Western countries are Nazis. Now, that doesn't mean that they wear swastikas and march and hail Hitler and all that shit, right? But it means they have fascist ideology. They want to kill people that are not like them. They want to inflict violence and torture people that are not like them. That is 1 in 5 people in Western countries, according to facts, science, studies, and research. So if that offends you, cry about it, okay? So, again, we can see that take place here. Thankfully, the internet is forever, and the thread and a selection of totally unhinged replies is archived on the Wayback Machine for your viewing pleasure. On Tuesday, in honor of Pride Month, the British Library shared a thread about the Amori Rassi, writing that the fish's wondrous forehead isn't the most magnificent thing about it. They are protogenous hermaphrodites, which means that females can later change sex to become males, the tweet reads. The thread goes on to explain that it takes 5 to 7 years to become sexually mature and can change from female to super males around their 9th birthday. Yo, like, if any super males are out there listening. Anyway, this means they develop an even more prominent hump and even brighter color, blue and green. Admittedly, it took me 23 years to transition from female to super male, but I must say, deeply relatable. It's pretty good. Now again, I don't know if people know this. If there's anyone out there that knows how pregnancy works. Now again, Republicans, fascists, Nazis, they're obsessed with it. They're obsessed with turning anyone who can become pregnant into being a baby factory, as long as they're white. You know, if they're black, I mean, I don't know, maybe we can inject them with some, like, in vitro fertilization of some beautiful white babies, right? Then, you know, we'll enslave and kill them because they're Nazis, right? But again, if you are white and you can procreate, you're beloved by Nazis. But these Nazis, even though they profess to love pregnancy and they love talking about fetal life, and they're all life, they don't really understand how pregnancy works. Did you know when you are developing in the womb that every single fetus starts out female? Did you know that? Literally, 100%. 100%. Not 99, not 50. It's not 50-50. 100% of human beings during the first 9 months of their lives start off as female. That's just how it works. And if you've got certain sets of genetic blueprints, then at that point you will develop into another person, another, you know, different anatomy, right? So again, that's just a matter of fact. These people don't know that. Why? Even though they're obsessed with pregnancy, even though they're obsessed with the fetus, they don't know anything about it. That's why you see viral trending clips of people showing dolphin fetuses to Republicans, and then Republicans saying, that's a precious little baby. It's a fucking dolphin fetus. You ever see these videos? It's, you know, I mean, they're just fucking dumb, okay? I don't know what to tell you. So let's keep going. The thread notes a number of examples of sexual variation in different fish species, including the clownfish are all born male and mature into females. We already knew that Finding Nemo was a touching tale of a queer found family, but this really drives the point home. It's pretty obvious that the library made this a Pride Month thread to celebrate the fact that biological sex, in quotes, is a beautifully varied thing across species, and that a static dimorphic sex binary is not actually a default or a natural state. Again, it's science fiction. Thinking that there is a gender binary is science fiction. That's science fiction. It is as much of sci-fi as spaceships and laser beams blowing each other up, you know, on the moon. It's science fiction, okay? One person, totally missing the point, replied, quote, "Are you saying gay men are actually women because fish?" A very intelligent person. Another person wrote, quote, "Pride Month is also a celebration of hermaphroditic fish." And you know what? We'll claim that. Tragically, as mentioned, the British Library ended up deleting the thread. As much as we wish they had stuck by it, we're in full support of anything that makes transphobes lose their absolute goddamn minds. So just this once, we'll hand it to them. So, but again, I want to say this. I'm not going to hand it to them. You know, this author, whoever they are, James Factura, God bless them. I'm not going to hand it to the British Library. When you let Nazis bully you into submission, I'm sorry. Shut the fuck up. You are no longer an ally. An ally stands proud and stands tall with the people that they are allied with. An ally does not buckle and say, oh, well, I guess you're right. That's not what allies do. So I'm sorry. Shout out to, well, I guess anti-shout out to the British Library for, you know, I guess cucking out of that one, but still pretty funny. And again, I really need you to understand here that Nazis are popular. Again? Now again, fascism has always been here. Nazis have always been here. But the level of popularity, again, ebbs and flows over time. And we are in a situation where Nazis, they're at a local high in popularity. Not an all-time high, right? You know, 1940s, that's the all-time high for Nazi power and influence and popularity. Maybe 1930s, I should say. They didn't, you know, they started to become unpopular a little bit in the 40s. But we are now reaching a local high that we probably haven't seen since then, right? And it's rising, and we are trending upward. And not good. So, there you go. Shout-outs to fish, by the way. Heinz Worcestershire MA sauce. I disagree with that. I think what you just said, and I'm going to read it out loud here. It's baffling to me that there are people out there celebrating the losers of history, the Nazis, Confederates, etc. I disagree that they are the losers of history. I disagree. I think the Confederacy won the Civil War. Now, I'm willing to argue this, I'm willing to debate this, but the Confederacy won the Civil War the moment that the United States pulled the military out of the South during Reconstruction. Which president did that? I forget. I think it was the one. Was it the one after Grant? I don't remember. I got to brush up on my Reconstruction history. But after the Civil War, the United States Army and military occupied the Southern Confederacy to make sure that they were following laws. And at some point, the U.S. military pulled out of the South. And when that happened, in my opinion, that is the Confederacy winning, because that's when they started mass murdering black people in North Carolina. That's when they started mass murdering black people in Oklahoma. That's where they started mass murdering former slaves in every other state. That's where they started doing all of this kind of really fascistic garbage, was in, 1880s or so. That's my opinion. I understand what you're saying. I understand your point. I just, I'm providing a different perspective. So I just want to say this. I don't think that they're the losers. I don't know. I just disagree. I think that they won. I got some more stories here today. While we're talking about the gays and the queers, whom I love and adore, we're going to talk about this fucking guy. I understand why young men in the 21st century feel alone, feel isolated, they feel like their lives are out of control, and they feel like they need help from an outside force. They feel like they need role models. I get it. I understand also why young women would feel similar feelings. We live in an era of atomization and hatred of one another. Everyone hates each other, and everyone's afraid of each other, right? At the end of the day, we're all abused children that never actually were able to emotionally grow up. That is why when, we're in our 20s, we're in our 30s, we are just reacting out the childhood trauma that we experienced by isolating, being alone, having our lives falling apart. So I understand when and how people can get to these positions. And I need you to understand, when people are at their weakest points and they turn for help, where they turn is a space filled to the brim of snake oil salesmen. When people are at their weakest point and they feel like they need to find something that can help them, that is a very lucrative market for scam artists. And one of the most notorious scam artists in the entire self-help space is Jordan Peterson. So here's a clip of Jordan Peterson saying that gay people were better when they were being oppressed. Gay people had it better when they were second or third class citizens than they do now. This is Jordan Peterson, self-proclaimed self-help guru, emphasis on self-proclaimed, and also scam artist. And there's a certain level of just like the idea that anyone out there fell for this guy. I get it. When you're at your weakest, again, we're all just hurt little children. You're not thinking rationally. You're looking for something to help you. And I get it. And so I understand falling for a scam. We've all fallen for scams. I'm sure you've bought a soda. I'm sure you've gone to a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant, that's the biggest scam in the world. You can cook that shit at home for like 1/10 the price, right? So we've all fallen for scams and we've all regretted it at some point. But some people, they really need to move on. This guy is a scam artist. If you are listening to someone, if you let your political worldview be shaped by someone that says this insane shit, and I'm going to play the clip in a second here, you got fucking hoodwinked, bro. You got scammed. And it's okay. I get it, the sunken cost fallacy. I have a gambling addiction. All right, I get it. Now, I don't go play the slots. Instead, I play video games like Yu-Gi-Oh, right? I play video games that have random elements to them. That's my form of gambling addiction. You know, saves me a little money than going to the slot machines. But I'm very well aware of the sunken cost fallacy. You spent 4 years of your life reading this guy's books, whatever it is. I get it. But you need to understand, this guy was scamming you the whole time. He did not make this sudden transformation. There's a lot of people out there that claim that Jordan Peterson made a sudden and expected transformation into being a Nazi. And that's not the case. This guy launched himself into prominence attacking and denigrating transgender people and making up a law that didn't exist. Remember Bill C-16? This was a big thing. A lot of people's political awakenings, actually, were about Bill C-16. I know, can you believe it? But Jordan Peterson skyrocketed to popularity, getting millions and millions and millions and millions of views online, talking about Bill C-16 in Canada, and lying about it. He said that the bill would make you go to jail if you misgendered someone, with no exception. You misgender someone, you go to jail. And then Jordan Peterson, valiantly standing up for free speech, would misgender people on purpose, you know, as a matter of principle. But that's not what Bill C-16 did. They made it up. They lied about it. And that's what caused Jordan Peterson to become internationally famous. Lying and denigrating transgender people. He's always been like this. He's always been like this. Now, I get it. At a certain point in your life, you may have been susceptible to the scam. I understand. We've all been there. We've all been scammed. Everybody in this world has been scammed at some point in time. But the real point in growth is recognizing when you've been scammed and learning from the mistake. So let's watch this clip of self-proclaimed scam artist. I guess he's not self-proclaimed self-help guru, scam artist, Jordan Peterson, talking about how gays had it better when they were dying of AIDS under Ronald Reagan's watch, because Ronald Reagan wanted to commit a genocide of gay people. They actually had it better than now. Let's watch.
And what he observed as a consequence of his decades of work was that, first of all,
the clip starts, he's talking about some study, quote unquote study, you know, some phrenology science.
Best thing to do with kids with body dysmorphia was to just leave them the hell alone till they were 18. And the reason for that was, well, first of all, the first reason was that about 80% of them ended up gay. And so part of the reason they were bodily dysmorphic when they were very young is because they were homosexual. And there was some tension between their emerging sexual proclivity and their biological reality, at least in contrast to what was normative.
So, real quick, this study doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because there is no such thing as a binary between gay and trans. For whatever reason, fascists, Nazis, and scam artists want to convince people that being gay and being trans are mutually exclusive, and that gay people are being forced to become trans because they're gay. That does not happen, right? You can be trans and gay. You can be gay and not trans. You can be trans and not gay. So the idea that you can either be gay or trans, it on its face doesn't make any fucking sense. So when he says 80% of people turned out gay as opposed to turning out trans, that's a false conclusion, because it's built upon a false dichotomy. Doesn't make any sense, right? Any sort of cursory logical, looking glass would immediately make this whole thing fall apart. But he's going to use that as a springboard to say some fucked up shit.
80% of them would grow up to be gay. So, and that's not that surprising, really, is it? That hyper feminine little boys who are that way by temperament are going to grow up to be homosexual. And on the other side, the female front, that the hyper masculine girls are going to grow up butchy and more likely to be attracted to girls. I don't think that's a real surprise to anybody. But the fact that it's 80% is quite the statistic.
Look at this, now on my show, I love to analyze body language. Most of human communication is nonverbal. Body language plays a huge part in how people get scammed. And Jordan Peterson is a professional scam artist. Have you ever seen that Matt Damon movie, like the fucking Talented Mr. Ripley or whatever, right? Go watch that movie if you haven't. It's great. I'm not even going to lie. It's really fucking good. It's also an extremely gay movie. That's a whole separate story. But one thing that they show in that movie is that a part of scamming someone is body language, behaving in a certain way, walking differently, having a different gait, reading a book when you're not really reading. And so real quick, I just want to point this out. You can see Jordan Peterson look down at like a clipboard, but he's not actually writing anything. Now, I want you to really pay attention to what he's doing with his hands here and his face. He's looking down at the clipboard. To anybody.
But the fact that it's 80% is quite...
And he's not writing anything. He's pretending to write something down. But as you can see, all he's doing is fiddling with his pen. He's just doing this. This is not writing. So he's looking down and going like this because he knows people are going to say, oh, wow. And it's all subconscious. I need people to understand a lot of this is subconscious. Right? No one is watching this and going like, wow, look, he's going down and he's writing and wow, he's so smart. It's subconscious. It gets in your head. You don't even understand what you're viewing, right? And so that's why I like to point out things like body language when it comes to these scam artists. So he is looking down, he's pretending to write down like he's some hyper intellectual, as if he's got like a 20-point fucking essay and he's, but he's not actually writing anything. Like, just look at it again. He's not actually writing anything. And this is a big thing you see. You see this with Elon Musk, where he does like this stuff, and he's like, and he like does that thing where he's like pretending to think, and then he says the dumbest shit in the world, because people see that, and subconsciously they go, wow, look, he's smart. He's doing smart people things, right? So again, let's keep going.
I don't think that's a real surprise to anybody. But the fact that it's 80% is quite the statistic. And what that means is that 80% of the kids who are being transformed.
Now, transformed? What? Like 80% of people being transformed? Okay, so one study where you drew a false conclusion means that 80% of transformers are being victimized?
Surgically are gay.
Now, and again, he's saying that as if there is a mutually exclusive property. Being gay or trans. It can't be both. It's a Venn diagram with two different circles that aren't touching. That's the world he's trying to profess that is real when it's not real. Okay? And again, you can be trans and be gay. You can be trans and be straight. You can be trans and have no sexuality. You can be trans and have every sexuality. You can be trans and have... These are not mutually exclusive. But he wants you to believe it because he's scamming you. That's it.
And so if there's a genocide, so to speak, and there isn't, but if there's a case of mass abuse of the gay community, the most egregious examples of that mass abuse is occurring at the hands of the trans activists, not the heterosexual monogamists. I think the gay community was a hell of a lot better off when they were oppressed by the heterosexual monogamists than when they are allied with the trans activists.
Now, so first of all, He uses the word oppressed. Why does he use the word oppressed? That's a mistake. I want you to know. Now, Jordan Peterson would not admit that that's a mistake, but he made a mistake. He did not mean to say the word oppressed. But he did on accident because he knows that it's true. What he meant to say was that gay people were better off when heterosexual monogamists were in charge, or were the norm, or were dominant. But he accidentally said oppressed because he knows that that's what he wants. He knows that that's his desire, and he knows that that's the history. He knows about the AIDS crisis and genocide of gay people in the 1980s under Ronald Reagan. He knows about that. He knows that gay people died en masse because of AIDS, and because the government did nothing at all. They actually actively refused healthcare to gay people. Right? He knows that. He's aware of that. And that's why he uses the word oppressed. And he is saying, and again, maybe it's not an accident that he uses the word oppressed, but it feels like it. Because it kind of goes against his entire other positions, right? His proclaimed positions. And this is the other thing about scam artists. Is scam artists, one of the biggest ways, look at that fucking guy in Congress, Santos or whatever, DeVolder, whatever his real name is. One problem with scam artists is eventually lies become hard to keep track of. And certain lies contradict other lies, and they intersect in ways that you are not ready to handle. And that is what I believe happened here. His lies intersected in a way with his true feelings, and he accidentally said the word oppressed. He literally said, gay people are better being oppressed than being allied with trans activists, whatever that even means. Like, what is a trans activist and what is being allied with them mean? I don't even know. And again, I get it. I understand. This guy is worshipped by a bunch of people who emotionally never made it past the age of 15. Because again, I understand having arrested development and looking for an outside influence and role model because your personal life is falling apart, or, you know, you feel like you're unloved, or I get it, right? And sometimes you stumble upon a scam artist, and when that happens, you become calcified in your emotional development. You become stuck in place. Like you're stuck, like you're in fucking mud or quicksand and you can't get out. Right? And so I get it. You're 21, you're 25, you're 30. You've been following Jordan Peterson for 10 years, 5 years, 8 years, and you feel like he's helped you in some way. I get it. But you've been scammed. And until you realize that, you cannot actually grow and change and heal and learn new things about the world. You are stuck. You have been arrested. And you are emotionally and mentally a child. And everyone is in some flavor, in some way or another. But you need to really understand that the self-help space, and I know this from personal experience, the self-help space is mostly occupied by predators and scam artists. That's just a fact. Why? Because people that are looking for help are by default in a position of weakness. So if you are a scam artist, there is a giant group and pool of people, potential marks, in the self-help community. And I get it. Again, sometimes, and it's possible Jordan Peterson helped you get out of a rut, and now you're in a better spot. But that doesn't mean you have to become a neo-Nazi and follow in his footsteps. It means maybe he said something at a certain period in your life that helped resonate with you. Take the silver lining, take the W where it is, and move on. Maybe I'm being too nice to these people. I don't know. But Jordan Peterson has always been a Nazi. He's always been a fascist. And he's letting his mask slip now more than ever. But he's let the mask slip many times, especially before his rise to fame. Because once again, his rise to fame was predicated upon lying about trans people and lying about free speech. He just made the whole thing up. It's a giant scam. He just made it up. He pretended that now again, this was also a Canadian law. Now again, Jordan Peterson moved to the US to scam people in the US. So his market was scamming Americans. He scammed Americans into believing a fake law in Canada was going to censor everybody. Because Americans, they don't even understand what's going on in their own country, let alone in another country. You think Americans are going to Google a fucking bill in another country they don't live in? Right? So again, the scam was born on lying about there being like some giant trans shadow council that's going to censor people. Never happened, never did happen, and never will happen, right? But people are too dumb to look into it, to just Google what the bill said. And that, again, I mean, it's just, it's sad. But, you know, that's just the way that the cookie crumbles or whatever the fuck. There you go. How's it going, iTour? Happy to see you. All right. Let's jump into UFO world. This is going to be our final segment for today. Let me drink some seltzer here. So, again, my biases. Do I believe that UFOs are real? Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a 100% verifiable fact. What is a UFO? An unidentified flying object, right? They also use the term unidentified aerial phenomenon. I mean, come on now, UFO. UAP is just dumb. Let's be honest, okay? Now, the real question is, are there, or has there ever been documented evidence of a UFO having an extraterrestrial origin? That's the big question up in the air. And so, now, I will be honest with you. I have not watched this. I have not looked into this in any capacity. I saved it for this show for a live reaction. There is an alleged whistleblower interview here. It's 12 minutes, and I'm going to try to watch the whole thing here, just because. And now the video is, like, broken, so let me refresh this. Thank you, Elon. I want to watch this because I want to learn with you, and I'll look into this more in the future. But again, I just want to give my perspective on the alien thing. I believe if a UFO has a non-Earth origin, that the only possible and logical explanation is humans time traveling from the future. That is my conspiracy that I believe. That if there is a UFO that does not originate from anything that we know about on Earth, that it is humans time traveling. That's my opinion. Why? I believe time travel is possible. I believe that time travel is possible in the future. And if time travel happens in the future, that means it happens in the past, right? And I also am not convinced that there are aliens out there in the solar system or in the wider universe that would be able to venture out and see us. We have been searching for extraterrestrial life for decades, almost a century even at this point, but mostly, 50 years really, we've been hyping it up, and we found nothing so far. So my opinion is, now I'm not saying I necessarily believe that UFOs came from the future, but what I am saying is, if there is a situation like Roswell or whatever, and if it comes out that is true, I don't believe that they're aliens. I believe that they're humans from the future. So I just want to say that's my personal conspiratorial belief with no evidence. Now, again, I'm not saying I believe in it. I'm open to it, right? I'm very open to this, and I'm just being honest with you. If you think this is all wacky and crazy, that's fine, whatever. But this is just my belief. I'm having fun on my show, and I want to watch this with all of you. So, this is a News Nation interview with some whistleblower. Now, again, this could all be a giant scam. Who knows? I'll look into it more later, but I thought it was more fun to do a live reaction, so.
The U.S. government found quite a number of them, and they are indeed of non-human origin. Those are the explosive allegations from a former intelligence officer tonight in a whistleblower complaint that the Inspector General is taking very seriously. 36-year-old Air Force veteran David Grush is exposing what he calls a top-secret military program that has reportedly found wreckage of fully intact UFOs. The government now calls them UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena. For years, there have been whispers.
I have never heard that. Now, again, I'm not a huge UFO person. I don't participate in any. I've never heard anomalous. I've always heard aerial phenomenon, but anomalous, okay. I mean, that's a cooler. If that's what UAP is standing for now, maybe they changed it to anomalous recently. I'm not sure, but I'm in. Anomalous phenomenon, I'm in. All right, so I reject what I said earlier. I'm all in on UAP.
And rumors that the government had aircraft of non-human origin. This report is the first evidence it might be true. The Inspector General has called Grush's...
I love that, by the way. There's evidence that it might be true. That's not what the word evidence means. I'm just, I'm just saying, like, that's... I'm sorry. If you're a journalist, if you're on the news, you should not be saying that there's evidence that it might be true. That's not how evidence works.
Complaint urgent and credible. Tonight, we have a World Television exclusive interview with the whistleblower in which he claims we not only have the aircraft, but the government has been keeping much of its secret from Congress and from the public. News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Enton is here with the story, and this is a blockbuster.
It is a blockbuster. It's really hard to wrap your mind around this. I've been working on this for the past couple of weeks. I'm still having a hard time processing all of it. Over the last couple of years, it sort of became mainstream to discuss UFOs. The government has released videos. They've acknowledged that we don't know what some of this stuff is out there that we have on camera, but this really takes it all to another level. For the very first time, the world is about to hear from a former high-level U.S. intelligence officer who says the government has some of the unidentified craft in its possession. He is revealing these exclusive details about the secret government program.
We're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow.
We have all seen these blurry videos of unidentified flying objects. Video evidence, if you will, that old tales of UFOs may not all be conspiracy theories. In recent years, Congress starting an official U.S. government unidentified aerial phenomena task force, recently renamed...
I told you, aerial phenomena. I told you. I'm not okay. UFO, cooler than unidentified aerial phenomena. Though, unidentified anomalous phenomena, I'm in, okay? I'm in. I'm just, power rankings here.
Named the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. And now in a News Nation exclusive, David Grush, an Air Force veteran, former member of that task force, and veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, is formally blowing the whistle on secrets he says no one has ever shared publicly before.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
Grush sitting down with award-winning investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, who's reporting for News Nation and has spent years reporting on the UFO question.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin, vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
Grush alleges the U.S. government has recovered non-human craft for decades. He's filed a whistleblower complaint saying he gave what he calls the classified proof to Congress and the Intelligence Community Inspector General. News Nation has confirmed David Grush's credentials and resume. We've not seen or verified the alleged proof he says he's provided to investigators. He says he can't show us the proof for national security reasons. He also tells us he's...
So that's a big red flag for me. That's a big red flag for me. So I just want to put it this way. Now, I theoretically would understand why you wouldn't want to become the next Chelsea Manning. I get it. So you want to try to follow some sort of protocol. But if I found out irrefutable documented evidence that there are fucking aliens, I'm taking the risk. I'm just letting you know that right now, right? I am taking the motherfucking risk. I am posting that shit on the internet immediately, right? So I just want to say that red flag, okay? Red ass motherfucking flag right there.
He's not seen photos of the alleged craft himself, but has talked extensively with other intelligence officials who have.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
It's also harder for people to wrap their minds around the concept of a crashed object from somewhere else. It's easier to accept that, yeah, we see things in the sky that we can't explain.
Journalist Leslie Kane broke Grush's whistleblower story this morning in the debrief. Ms. Kane's career has been mainstream and credible, having written a series of reports on UFOs in the New York Times dating back to 2017. He has the credentials, but there's no documents that he's handed over. There's no pictures. And as a journalist, you want to see documents, you want to see pictures. Does that raise a red flag?
Not at all, Brian. I mean, you mean documents that actually describe the craft?
Correct, yeah, like government documents, or to be able to see it for ourselves.
Of course, don't we all want that? And the problem with that is all of that information is classified. You know, as we said in the story, everything that Grush told Congress and told the Inspector General of both the IC, the Intelligence Community Inspector General, and the Department of Defense Inspector General, all of that information is classified.
In 2017, Kane reported exclusively in the New York Times that the Pentagon had a secret UFO program. 3 years later, the Pentagon confirmed her story. Her latest report is even more explosive, but Kane says she has multiple sources who back up Grush's story.
I believe it because of all the sources I have who have told me the same thing. So who am I to doubt these very, very high-level people who have been inside these programs for decades, have done their work, and are all telling me the same thing? I mean, I don't think there's some kind of conspiracy among all these people who don't know each other to make something like this up.
So I've got to be blunt about this. Yeah. You're not making this up. This is not a lie.
No, absolutely not.
Because everybody watching this right now is looking at your face. They're going, is this guy for real?
I am for real. And I'm sitting here at great personal risk and obvious professional risk by talking to you today.
And just within the last 10 minutes or so, the Pentagon has released a statement to News Nation about this report. They say to date, AARO has not discovered any verifiable information to substantiate claims that any programs regarding the possession or reverse engineering of...
So just real quick, again, you can't trust either side of this coin. Like, let's just, you just can't trust them. You can't trust the Pentagon, and you can't trust really people that work for the government. I'm just going to say this. I need the evidence. Now, that one journalist or whatever saying she has multiple sources who've corroborated that don't know each other or whatever. Okay, all right, I'm interested in that. But ultimately, I need the documents. That's my position. And I say this as someone who is extremely amenable. I genuinely do believe that there are aliens. Now, I don't believe that they've interacted with us per se. Like I said, I personally believe if we have bodies, if we have, crashed UAPs or whatever, I personally believe it's time-traveling humans more likely than not. Because think about this, okay? Think about this. If there were aliens and they came to us, they would have the power to do whatever they wanted. So imagine a scenario where, like, why would aliens come to us and then not make themselves known? Maybe, I don't know, they're evil. Maybe they want to use us as a petri dish. Maybe that's, I don't know, maybe look at a lot of the disease going on. Those are all the conspiracies on that one. I don't buy it. I really don't buy it. I don't buy that aliens would use us as a petri dish. I don't buy that aliens would come here for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years and not leave a single trace until the U.S. government formed, and then they left a trace, and the government managed to take it all without anyone. I don't buy that necessarily. Okay, I need to see documents on this one. But that said, the Pentagon obviously is bullshitting. I mean, like, let's be honest. So if the Pentagon says, I'm just going to assume that anything that the Pentagon says, that the opposite is true. And that's just, I mean, like, do you know anything about the Pentagon's history, right? So it's like, anything the Pentagon says, just assume the opposite is true. And taking that perspective, maybe this guy is right. Maybe it's right,
Extraterrestrial materials have existed in the past or exist currently. AARO is committed to following the data and its investigation wherever it leads. AARO, working with the Office of the General Counsel and the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, has established a safe and secure process for individuals to come forward with information to aid AARO in its congressionally mandated historical review. AARO's historical review of records and testimonies is ongoing and due to Congress by June 2024, and AARO welcomes the opportunity to speak with any former or current employee or contractor who believes they have information relevant to this historical review. And Elizabeth, we know that David Grush, he's filed that whistleblower complaint. He's been on the record under oath testifying to many of these things that he said in our report tonight.
Right, and it's important to point out that this statement from the Pentagon, from AARO, Grush is alleging that this top secret program is keeping it a secret from AARO. So.
Yeah, exactly. And if Grush what he's saying is true, the spokespeople, all of those folks at that level wouldn't even know this was going on anyway.
All right, I got to ask you, he has a compelling story to tell. Very little of it seems like firsthand knowledge. Isn't he just repeating what somebody else has told him or somebody else has showed him?
Yes, that is what he's doing, but he says he's talked to a number of people who are in very, very high-level positions. He also had basically the highest level of classified material information that he was able to receive. We went back and checked over, his history, all of his credentials, check out completely. Unfortunately, there's
in addition, a couple people have come forward publicly to vouch for him, people who are high-ranking.
They have, and this article first came out this morning, and I think it's interesting that, there hasn't been any sort of effort to to discredit what he has said either from the Defense Department.
So interesting. So what happens, and have we had any reaction, by the way, from members of Congress who have been taking this seriously in the last couple of years? We've seen congressional hearings. We've seen NASA's hearing just about a week ago on UFOs or UAPs, whatever you prefer to call them. We've seen the DNI give a briefing to the White House on this. We've been hearing whispers and rumors for years. I remember even former President Trump, when he was in office, sort of saying, "Oh, my first Congress, first active duty pilot to testify before Congress about his squadron's experience with UAPs." He also founded Americans for Safe Aerospace to encourage other pilots to come forward. Lieutenant Graves, always great to have you on the show. First, just your reaction to what we've just heard.
Yeah, quite the incredible statements that were made public today. David has had a lot of experience, and he's made some pretty strong statements. My understanding is that this has been properly communicated to Congress and other stakeholders in government, and so that really puts the onus now on Congress to be able to move this information forward, hopefully to the American people.
All right, no, I don't think anything else of value is going to be here. This is the big story. Everyone's talking about it. What do I think? Okay, so again, ultimately, I need the documents, right? I'm not going to say that I 100% believe in any which way until I see actual proof, okay? That's what I need, all right? But, I can still say, where am I leaning? And I'm leaning that it might be true and that they're time-traveling humans. That's my position. That's where I'm leaning. Now, I can't say that with 100% proof or with 100% confidence. Why? For the same reason that I can say that Jesus isn't real, right? I need to see evidence. That's how my brain works. Without seeing any evidence, it's up in the air. But, scientifically speaking, I believe in time travel. I believe in hyperdimensional travel. I believe that it's extremely likely that if humans found a way to develop time travel, that they would be the only ones interested in going back in time to Earth to just fuck around and do some random shit. Why would aliens come to Earth? I would need an explanation. Some people say aliens come to Earth to edit our DNA to make some people say aliens. To me, that's really fucking far-fetched. I think it's more likely that humans would do that, because what do we know about humans? We know that humans are shifty, shady, and fucked up freaks. That's what we know. And so if humans were to time travel back in time, they would be shifty, shady, and they look like fucked up freaks. That's what I know for a fact. I know that as verified evidence, okay? So that's why I believe in the human time travel theory. Now, I'm not saying I don't believe aliens are out there. It's 100% certainty. I believe 1,000% that there are aliens, as in living life forms that are not us, somewhere in the universe. Now, whether or not they have the ability to come to Earth, that's a whole separate story. I don't know about it, okay? I would need more evidence on that one. So I lean in the time-traveling humans direction. So whether or not this has any bearing on our lives, it doesn't yet, until there's evidence. If there is, okay? If there is evidence, that changes every calculation ever, right? I mean, I view it, right? I personally think that if there was irrefutable, undeniable, I'm talking like a photograph, I'm talking like a video, and there would need to be ways to prove that it's not AI generated. I'm talking about if there was, and I don't know how it really is even really possible to get that irrefutable evidence. I don't know what the form, because I don't necessarily think documentation, like words on a page, like I don't necessarily, like, so I don't know what the form of evidence would be required, but what I do know is if that evidence did turn up, that changes every single calculation for the entire world. That is, it's a singularity moment where everything you've ever thought, the paradigm that you've lived in your entire life, completely, irrevocably, irreparably changes forever. Now, I don't know if that evidence exists. I don't even know if any of this is true, right? But really, until that evidence is in the public view, this is just going to be something that doesn't matter. Some people call it a distraction. All that kind of stuff. Maybe, possibly, even probably in some instances. But you never know. So this is the big thing. I'm not convinced, but it's just more and more evidence that leans me in a direction that I feel like I've already been in. This is not a bombshell to me. This has been promoted as a bombshell. I don't view this as a bombshell. I view this as just another linear step. Now, it's a good step. It's a nice step. It's a linear step to progress, I guess. But it's not a bombshell. It's not a paradigm shift. It's not like a life-changing situation. And that's what a lot of people are promoting this as. And those are people that I feel like maybe they're too invested into something. And, you know, again, we live in a country where 70% of us believe in Jesus Christ. So, you know what I mean? Like, magical thinking is alive and well in the American population. So, what are you going to do? But, there you go. That's my thoughts, I guess. I don't know. There you go. If anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns before I end today's show, feel free to lay them at me. If there are aliens around here, they are extra-dimensional visitors and they wouldn't come in a 3D spacecraft. That's exactly right, Hanging Thief. That is exactly right. The idea that an alien is going to come here in, like, an actual physical object that, like... I put it this way. If the human brain is capable of creating it, I don't think it was aliens. Like, if we are capable of creating a spacecraft that's like a circular fucking, you know, the meme of what a UFO is, which we are capable of, we don't have the technology yet, but we know, like, theoretically what we would, then I don't believe it's aliens, right? I think, again, more likely to be time-traveling humans. But if it's truly an extraterrestrial, and you can make an argument, you know, that humans in the future are extraterrestrial, right? Like, who knows how many years, you know. But if it's not human, not Earth origin, I'm going to need a lot more evidence. I used to live on top of a mountain, and we would look with telescopes almost nightly, and we all saw all kinds of lights that moved funny. That's as close as I've been. Yeah, I personally have no real experience seeing anything like that, like with my own eyes. You know, I've seen the videos that, you know, are the fucking, like, grayscale fucking, you know, where the guys are like, you know, I mean, we've all seen those videos, but I don't have any, like, personal experience. Will I be doing Twitch today? I don't know. There's this movie that I like. It's called Time Trap. And in the movie Time Trap, I don't want to spoil it for you. They show, like, time travel in both directions. So check out Time Trap. I don't want to spoil it for you, but if you're interested in the theory that I am professing, I recommend watching Time Trap. Because that's a good movie that, you know, it's cheesy. It's a cheesy sci-fi movie, but the plot is, you know, it follows in that lane. So check it out. Maybe aliens would visit because they're curious. I don't believe that, Rufus. Because if they were curious, I feel like we would have more evidence. I don't believe that aliens would visit out of a curiosity and somehow we wouldn't have evidence. You know. Like, to me, time-traveling humans are just way more likely. Like, with the absence of evidence in any direction, the most likely outcome, in my opinion, time-traveling humans. I personally don't believe that time travel could be possible. I believe it is possible. I believe it is 100% fact. And it makes perfect sense within the laws of physics. It's just that we don't have the technological capabilities. Like, you know, we could create a fucking Dyson sphere around the sun. We could. It's technologically possible. We just don't have what it takes at this moment, right? So, what was that Nick Cage movie I recommended? Oh, fuck. I don't know. You'd have to tell me what I was talking about. Like, what was the surrounding context? There's a Nick Cage movie for everything, you know? Totally possible that a simulated alien invasion crisis is coming down the line. I agree that that is possible. I definitely can see that being a thing. Secret technology being developed in parallel with everything else. I'm in. Left Behind. Yeah. Left Behind. I've only seen that movie once. I gotta rewatch it. It was a long time ago. Anyway, that's all I got. So, I hope the stream was okay. Again, I had some issues with YouTube earlier. It wouldn't let me post a stream, so I decided to just start the stream on OBS, and then I don't know what the fuck. So I don't know if the quality was okay. YouTube was glitching out for me, you know, what are you gonna do? So I guess there's no title for the show. I don't have a title, but anyway, I will not be here tomorrow. Wednesday is my day off, including the weekends, you know, because I'm practicing self-care, folks, which I recommend. And I will be back on Thursday. Mars and Saturn's moon Titan have microscopic life. I'm a huge fan of Titan. I've told this story before. I wrote there was a school project in elementary school where we're supposed to write a 10-page short story, and I wrote it about traveling to the moon Titan. And so, from a very early age, I've been interested in Titan. But anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. That's all I got. That's all I got.